I had a friend send me 8 random images I had never seen before to edit into some sort of masterpiece. I only had to use 6 of them, but I had an hour and a half to do it. This is what I did. I remember the first thing I did looking at the photos was think, that finger has to be the focal point of this picture. I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to fit in, but as soon as I saw the mountain background and its orange trail, I thought that'll be great for like a laser beam, and that started the entire basis of what you see. Here I'm comparing what I can do with the pointing finger in the hand. So I was thinking about recreating like the creation of man with the hands touching, and I was playing around with that idea for a while. There was no way the perspective was going to work, getting that hand to come naturally out of the foreground touching the finger. So you'll see I changed my mind here pretty quickly. I knew that I wanted the rainbow from the hand photo to be used as some kind of sunset or maybe laser beam, but the idea for using the laser beam on the finger was there pretty early as well, so I was just deciding which one was going to look cooler. Here I switched my background. I decided I wasn't going to use the mountains anymore, and instead I was going to try to use this ocean view with the mountains in the background. I wasn't exactly sure how they were going to fit together, but I figured I would find a way. So here I'm just trying to figure out how am I going to clean the water and make it look like it's blending together, getting rid of the woman from the foreground. Spent a bit of time here just because I knew this is going to be the background, so it, should at least fit. Here I'm messing with the other side of the background. I knew that this was going to be the top half of the photo, so I was trying my best to blend them together, get them to fit nice and neatly. I didn't like how the water looked so disjointed, so I went back in. And then it's right here where I realized this looks like snow. And so I start filling it all in and making it more bright. And then I decided just to make it one big snowscape instead of water with mountains in the background. So I blend together the top and the sky to make it all look nice, and I touch up the mountains a little bit. And here's where I'm starting to think, okay, we've got a background. What are we putting in it? I hadn't really decided. I had a vague idea. I knew the finger was going to be up in the top left, pointing down, and there was going to be some kind of laser beam coming out of it. You'll see what I do later, but at the beginning I had no clue. First I was looking at that, maybe adding it to the foreground like the original photo, but I didn't like that. So here's where I start adding the original laser beam. And I'm like, alright, so we're going to have a big old finger with a laser beam firing into a mountain. Why? We'll figure it out later. I just started doing it. So here I'm using liquefy on the wrong layer, I realized very quickly. And I'm just trying to get it to come out of this index finger more naturally and kind of blend out so it kind of looks like a tornado of fire or of energy. Messing with the colors, trying to get them to match. And here's where I realized, well, if I want it to be a laser beam or some kind of like wispy thing, I needed to add depth to it. So I had to remove the blur from the background, give it a little bit of a wavy effect, disappearing into dust. There for a little bit I was messing with the colors of the finger again, and I'm trying to add things to it because I just don't like how it looks on the white, and I end up messing with it later. Here's where the rainbow comes in. I decide I'm going to make it part of the background, kind of like a nice sunset gradient. And so I mask it around the sides of the mountain, I go in and I get into the fine details. And then it's back to the finger trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with this? So I start moving the background contrast, trying to see what fits with the finger, and honestly nothing does until near the very end. I'm looking back at this thinking, okay, what can I do with this hand? And when I put the hand there, I knew it immediately. The goose should be in the middle of the mountain. I was literally clapping when I figured that out. So I immediately ripped the goose's head from the other photo and I stuck it right here, and I knew this goose's head was about to be embedded in the mountainside. So I spend some time trying to blend it together. But then it was right here where I realized, oh, this is perfect. The finger is pointing a laser beam that's going to slowly like cocoon the goose. I end up, you'll probably hear me refer to the goose as a penguin just because he's in the snow. This penguin, I'm trying my best now to morph this around, and I'm realizing, oh, I don't like that. I kind of want it to enrapture him, like completely cover him. So I figure, well, there's only one way to do that, right? So I start manually drawing what I want around the penguin. So I go in and I add a layer on top of the white little drawing I did to add depth, just to get the right colors, and I go through and I'm adding coloring to the edges to make it look like the original laser beam. And then after, I go through and I remove what's over top. So I'm going back through adding the over top parts of it, looking at it, and I was really happy with it at this point. I thought, okay, this is a great idea. This is a good start. And I just needed to figure out a way to blend it better and to get it in there. So I just add minute things to the laser beam, like streaks of light and little dots like the original has, just to give it that bit of texture that makes it feel like it fits there. So here I clean up the background, I'm editing the edges just to make it look more full. I'm looking back at the photos thinking, okay, I gotta use the rest of these, so where am I gonna use them? I remember the moon, perfect. I can put a moon pretty much anywhere. So I clean it up. I messed with a few ideas on the moon. I wasn't exactly sure what I was gonna do, but I figured it doesn't really matter. It's the moon, right? It'll fit anywhere. Just kind of set him off to the side. I mess with him later. Try to figure out, ooh, maybe I can add him to the sunset, make it look nice, and I was kind of happy with that. It's back to the goose. Now we have to look at the bottom. How are we going to blend this into the mountain? I tried some speckled patterns, I tried some blending layers, and eventually I mixed this, kind of smudging it along with a little bit of a blend just to make it feel like it's been implanted into this mountain for a while. Going back in, adding more to the laser beam. I really want it to feel full, so I add more to the upswing of it. And I'm looking at this whole time thinking, man, I don't like the orange. I didn't know what to do different at the time, but I just didn't like the orange. So I figured, well, if I can't get rid of the orange, I might as well fully embrace it. I take the dog's eyeball, which was this beautiful blue, and I think to myself, well, what if I make it a glowing orange? So I switch it to orange here in a second, trying to make it seem as though the penguin is like transforming, like being imbued with power. It didn't really fit though, no matter what I did, even with that. I messed around with some backgrounds, trying to make it seem like it was radiating power and energy. Well, I kinda liked it. It still wasn't what I was going for. It didn't look like it fit what was happening with the rest of the photo. So here I start going back to the finger and I'm thinking, oh my god, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna change this color? The moon gets some more work. I decide to blur it. Here's where I start messing with depth again, thinking, well, maybe instead of changing the color, I should just make it a more depth-focused photo, where the finger is way off in the distance and shooting the ray, but after messing with it, it just didn't look right. You couldn't, unless you were watching this video and you saw that it was a finger, you would have no idea that that was like a finger of any sort, so I canceled that. Here I mess with the idea of a vignette, and I don't know exactly, I didn't know if the vignette was gonna work or not, but I tried, I looked at it, didn't like it, immediately got rid of it. Messing again with the laser beam. So here I'm adding the rainbow back to the background, changing its layer one more time, and I noticed the nice curve on the right side, and I was like, that's going to look like a great sunset. And here's where I decide, okay, if we're doing the sunset, we don't need the color on the finger anymore. Let's try to make it an ice finger. So I add a layer style to it and I add some color on top of it to give it this very cold feeling. I tried a texture, it was too much at the beginning, but I ended up getting it exactly where I wanted it. Put a nice little drop shadow on it, just to give it a more frosty and cold feeling. Unfortunately, because of the editing and because of the original quality of the photo, I wasn't able to get the high resolution. I'm not exactly happy with it, but I think it adds a more like 70s, 80s aesthetic to the photo, being kind of bit crushed in low resolution. It almost seems comedic. I'm messing with the mountain again, trying to figure out what can I do, and I figure, well, what if I'm like slowly freezing this penguin goose monster? What if I'm just slowly freezing it because of the beam? So I added this little effect of the ice crawling up his body. And then, you know, I went back to the moon because I will never be happy with that moon, just because of the coloring and how it looked, and I was running out of time. So I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh, I gotta do something. So I export the whole thing, and now I'm messing with the tilt shift, and I'm just trying to think, okay, let's add some depth. I mess with the moon, and finally, after I look at the moon and bring it back and take it away and bring it back, I end up with the final image. If you like videos like these and you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing. I'm a really small channel and every single subscriber helps. Thanks so much for watching.